Hi, thanks for joining us. My name is Chris Vandersloot. I'm the president of HMS Software. Today we're going to be talking for a few minutes about timesheet types. How is it that there are so many different kinds of timesheets on the market? How do all these timesheets survive? And do you really need more than one? If you look for timesheets in a search, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of different commercial options. Time and attendance timesheets, HR timesheets, timesheets for time and billing, timesheets for project management, timesheets for R&D tax credits, timesheets for defense contract work. All of these timesheets target different kinds of features, and they can seem very necessary at the time when you go to select something. If we look at some of the most popular kinds of timesheets, let's start with time and attendance, by far the most popular type. Here, a timesheet wants to find out, well, when were you here? Do we need to pay you? So we need an employee ID. We need to know what period of time we're reporting in, whether you were in or out of the office. Did you do work? How much time did you spend? And if you weren't here, what did you spend your time on? Was it sick leave or vacation or holiday? Payroll and HR both need to know those things. Some timesheet systems for time and attendance only work by exception. If someone's on salary, they will assume you are working full time unless you put in an exception such as sick leave or a holiday day. Next most popular, time and billing systems. Here we need to invoice for the time, so this is very popular with professionals like accountants, lawyers, engineers, consultants, where every moment that we spend on a client's work has to be invoiced. And so we need to know a few things here. We need to know which client did we do the work for, and who is doing the work, and how much time did they spend. Rates are also very important here. What rate are we billing at, so that we can make sure that the work that is sent over to make an invoice can be justified later. And so a short description is also required. The work that we started here at HMS started around project management and project statusing systems. So again, a very particular kind of requirement. Here we start from a planned bit of work to say, well, this was the plan for the work. Now we'd like you to update that plan with how much time did you spend on it, and how much time is left, either as an amount of time or as a percentage of completion. And so these systems are often provided by the project management system vendors. Like a Microsoft Project Online has a timesheet, so you can update the tasks in Microsoft Project. And there's a whole variety of timesheets that are created for people who have different compliance requirements, whether that's the Defense Contract Audit Agency in the United States, or European work rules, or Sarbanes-Oxley, or for R&D tax credits. There are different requirements for different tax and different government requirements, so you have to be able to figure out what do they need and how will our timesheet accommodate those things. You'll find other kinds of timesheets like access systems, where these are built into the access to the building or to the site, and people will use a card reader or a biometric reader. These systems really go back to the days of the punch clock to determine when someone was on site. They don't determine whether that person was working the entire time they were on site or what they did with their time. Time and motion studies we see still in assembly line work, where we might use a laser scanner to scan a barcode to determine how much time from the moment a package arrived into this workstation until it left this workstation, so we can see how we can make things a little bit more efficient. Saving a few seconds on each item can make a huge difference at the end of the day. And of course, there's always going to be manual timesheet systems. It might surprise you, but even now, many years after these things have become automated in many places, we will still find on a regular basis Excel-based timesheets, manual-based timesheets where people literally write something on a piece of paper, where there's a lot of manual intervention involved. And we find that in small companies, we find it in very large companies. There's an attraction to having an ultimately flexible timesheet, but of course the cost of such a timesheet can be enormous when there's a lot of people involved and the system expands. So what do people do? How does an organization function and move forward? Amazingly, and we see this on a regular basis given our industry, but people deploy more than one timesheet. Maybe they're using Microsoft Project Online, and the Project Online has a timesheet, so they use that. They say, well, this was great because it automatically updated the time in our tasks. But they also had some developers using Jira, and Jira has its own time updating system, and so they had some users using that. Then we had some people who were just tracking time by their attendance in and out using the access system. And finance has also put together a timesheet for payroll, and maybe HR has put together a separate timesheet for vacation management. And in a worst case scenario, an employee might have to fill in 2, 3, or 4 of these systems at the end of their week or the end of their day. So there's a cost to having multiple timesheets, and this is by no means an unusual phenomenon. We see many organizations with multiple timesheets deployed. The cost can be significant. First of all, there's the cost of actually buying the timesheet or subscribing to it. I mean, if we subscribe to 2, that's going to cost us more than subscribing to 1. Then there's the cost of trying to reconcile these different timesheets. And we see this everywhere. One organization says, well, one part of the organization says, well, we have all this time against our projects that we've been tracking here, maybe in Project Online. And someone else says, well, we have this time that comes from payroll. How do we make sure that these two balance out? And that can be an enormous amount of work, very much manual intervention to try to make sure that those two systems can reconcile. And sometimes they can't be reconciled at all, and that brings up the question for management to go, well, then is one of them inaccurate, and how do I know which one? There's also the cost of someone entering more than one timesheet. I mean, that may only seem like a few minutes in a day, but those minutes add up because it's a few minutes times everyone who's stuck in that process of doing multiple timesheets, and the people who have to do the supervising of those timesheets and the approvals. So all of that adds up as time that could be reconciled and resolved if you were using just one. There's an IT cost of maintaining timesheets, even if the timesheet is not internal, even if it's being subscribed to. IT will have to monitor that system, make sure that it continues to run, make sure that if any intervention is required for backups or anything else with the vendor, that they get involved. And finally, there's the management cost of keeping all of those systems populated, making sure that all the different users are populated into multiple systems, all the different tasks are populated into multiple systems, and so on. So we saw this requirement way back in the 1980s when we started the company, and in creating TimeControl in 1994, we wanted to do one timesheet that would fulfill multiple requirements at once. We started that exercise from the project management side, where our first client said we need a timesheet for project management, but we don't want our users entering more than one, so it will also have to fulfill the needs of our finance department. So we ended up creating a timesheet that would ultimately become TimeControl, with the flexibility to meet those different requirements and different needs. The big challenge in this is typically in the approvals process. How will we deal with approvals when there are different perspectives on what an entry in a timesheet means to those different people? And we manage that by creating something called the matrix approval process for labor actuals, where information might start from a project management system like Project or Primavera or Prism or Jira. And this information would go into TimeControl. At the same time, inputs would come in from HR for things like new employees or employees who are updating their role or their department. And then end users would have to only deal here in the middle with the timesheet entry. Once they've done their timesheet, TimeControl can do automated approvals, and then different people get to do approvals for different kinds of requirements. So an HR person might only see the information that's HR related. Project manager will be able to deal with all of the lines for their project from different users who worked on their project this week. And administrators can look at the entire timesheet to say, well, does it add up? And does it fill our rules? And then information goes to all the different systems. On one side, it might go back to project management. On the other, out to HR, separately to payroll, separately to billing, with the different requirements that each of those systems need. This has been very successful for over 30 years for us, and for the clients that have stuck with us to use Time Control for many, many years. We have clients have been with Time Control for well over 15 years, some over 20, because it just works. And so you may recognize some of the clients there, or may even see your own organization there. This is only a few of our clients. So thanks for spending the time. If you'd like more information about Time Control, I invite you to stop by our website at timecontrol.com. You can try Time Control for free today. There's no cost. You can just register in and take a look. But if you'd like more information for how you can get your own organization from multiple timesheets to one, then drop us an email or stop by the website and contact us through the web. Thanks very much for your time and your attention.